There's more to the MTD heaven than the anxiety about the divine. It amplifies our most common fears about the promise of heaven, the exhaustion of resources and stimuli,
paradise.
That's nice.
and the inevitability of boredom and purposelessness.
Every second of my existence was amazing, but my brain became this big, dumb blob.
We fear we'll become like the lotus eaters, intoxicated by forgetfulness.
So we finally make it into the good place and now we're just gonna become zombies?
These are valid concerns. It is true that the most luxurious places in the world tend to see the highest rates of suicide and depression. The rich and famous often confess that having it all does not mean having it all. To tackle these problems, the show proposes a drastic measure: elective euthanasia. Although morbid, in the face of a non-paradisical paradise, one can't help but cheer at this idea of poetic closure. After all, it'll force us to make the best use of the Jeremy Bearamys we have left. This embrace of non-existence comes from Buddhism, which claims that there is no self, and that everything we call reality is only an illusion, and that only once this really sinks in us can we start to let go of our cravings and desires, and we'll be able to escape the cycle of reincarnation and enter nirvana, which is named after the Sanskrit word that means extinction. However, this is logical only if the mentioned assumptions are true. If we are real,
He's real.
and are our distinct selves, and will have distinct future destinies with memories intact, we must reconsider self-obliteration. Sure, wiping oneself out of existence may seem empowering to a postmodernist, since it gives meaning to an otherwise meaningless universe.
Returning my damn essence to the damn fabric of the damn universe.
But this can't be so if there is an objective meaning of life, one that is not constructed, but official.
Tell me the answer. What's the point of love if it's just gonna disappear? And how is it worse to not love anybody? There has to be meaning to existence. Otherwise, the universe is just made of pain, and I don't like the thought of that, so tell me the answer.
Ancient Greek philosophers debated over logos, a word which means the rational principle that governs the universe, or, put more simply, the reason for existence, or the meaning of life. Ancient Greek philosophers thought that logos must be a philosophy, but the Gospel of John says something else. In the beginning was the meaning of life, and the meaning of life was with God, and the meaning of life was God. He was in the beginning with God. All things came into being through him, and apart from him, nothing came into being that has come into being. And the meaning of life became flesh, and dwelt among us, and we saw his glory, glory as of the only begotten from the Father, full of grace and truth. This is good news, that the meaning of life visited us, that the meaning of life became human, that he bled and died to redeem his people. The meaning of life was a person so beautiful that there is no alternate explanation except to say that he was truly who he said he was. Christianity tells us that the meaning of life isn't a lofty formula that takes forever to access. It tells us that the meaning of life has done the work. He has come to find you. One of the core virtues of our postmodern world is authenticity.
Conceal, don't feel, put on a show.
So isn't personal interpretation a good thing? Maybe even the very thing that enables us to be ourselves.
I miss being myself. Myself was the best.
But in order to be true to ourselves, we must know who we truly are first.
I don't know what I am.
With postmodernism comes an anthropology that is defined by personal interpretation, whether it's our ethnic identity, political identity, sexual identity, or moral identity. Sometimes we refer to this as intersectionality. Here, there is no such thing as the truth. there is only the category of personal truth.
Find happiness in the unique insanity of being here.
There are only my truth and yours. Here, the postmodernist mentality runs into some problems. On the one hand, it believes that personal narratives trump any overarching ones. On the other, the postmodernist has just built up a meta-narrative. Or as Tim Keller, a Christian pastor and author, puts it,
I was reading a book by Terry Eagleton. He's a British literary critic. It's called The Illusions of Postmodernism. He understood that the movement of postmodernism was against binaries. He says many of his postmodern friends, people in the academy and all that, they said, well, if you say you have the truth, you set up a binary. You're saying, I have the truth and you have falsehood. I'm normal, you're abnormal. I'm right, you're wrong. Binary. And we're dividing the world. And it's creating all the divisions in the world. We need to stop setting up these binaries. Stop saying, I'm right, you're wrong. Let everybody be free. Let everybody believe what they believe. And he says, the only problem with this, he says that all my postmodern friends say, I'm one of the good people who don't set up binaries. You're one of the bad people who do.
Postmodernism turns out to be just as narrow as any other system of morality. Here we discover the true aim of postmodernism, that it is not to celebrate personal truth, but to privilege some personal truths above others. But the biblical idea of dignity gives us the sense of security that we need, a security that cannot be taken away. It says that you are beautiful because you are the apple of God's eye, that you are powerful because your Savior is, that you are not enough, but that Christ was enough for you. Of course, in the world of intersectionality, we are to identify ourselves based on our moral, political, ethnic, and sexual orientation.
More guys should be bi. It's 2018. It's like, get over yourselves.
Here, you matter because you belong to a category that socioeconomically intersects with others. The postmodern idea of dignity reduces us to the sum total of our circumstantial fluidity. How well you perform the culturally right thing becomes the measure of how much you matter.
Your pathetic attempt to prove that humans are more than just mobile turd factories.
But the Bible tells us that you matter no matter what, because God placed His image in you. This is referred to as Imago Dei. This identity is not intersectional, but it is eternal. It doesn't bow down to the latest, sexiest, earthly categories of personhood. It only bows to the one category that lasts. When personal interpretation is king, our personality types become irrefutable science. Our emotional and erotic orientation, an undeniable virtue. But if Imago Dei is true, we must define ourselves based on our soul orientation.
Say what now?